According to Goodreads, my reading year is over, so let's talk about it, shall we? Cheers. Welcome back to me doing the weekly navel-gazing and figuring out what I did last week, what I read last week, what I plan to do this week, and why it's never enough, alright? So, yes, I read a bunch of Cyberpunk, which was not what I planned to do, but then I just kept going, and after finishing the Sprawl trilogy by William Gibson, I also read Burning Chrome, which is technically partly part of that, and partly just other stuff, and it's really good. And then I read Hardwired by Walter John Williams, which is all about people driving way too fast and shooting people and stuff. It's more cyberpunk. It's also really cool, and another one of those classics that have gotten forgotten. And then I did the thing I was afraid of, which is I started to reread Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson for probably the dozenth time at this point. So yeah, if you're wondering why I did not finish Rise of Endymion, which was sort of my plan, that's sort of the answer there. So yeah, I read all those cyberpunk books, and that was really cool, and I'll hopefully be doing more of that stuff in the future. We will see. So what about the videos, right? Well, it turns out I made two. That one being the Fall of Hyperion video, part 2 in the Downfall of Dan Simmons series. It took me a while to record it, and to record it in a way that I was happy with. I think it could have been better, but on the other hand, it's also kind of difficult, I guess, to get everything right. So yeah, that's what we are working with here. And then I stepped back from it and talked about Cyberpunk, and made a video on mostly the Sprawl trilogy by William Gibson, where I try to also explain what I think makes Cyberpunk and why it is worthwhile reading still today in a lot of ways. And then I didn't do any more videos. So yeah, that's what happened last week. Both of those videos went really well, so I want to say thank you to all of you who have watched those and commented on those. I do really appreciate it, and I've gotten a lot of nice words from all of you, a lot of kind words from you saying that my stuff has gotten a lot better recently, and I'm not sure if that's true, but I certainly want to believe that that's the case. So thank you for that as well. And even if you think that my stuff's gotten worse, please don't hesitate to tell me that as well. So, what about the future, you ask? Well, you're not asking, but I'm pretending. So, excuse me using rhetoric here. Alright. Well, I'm gonna finish my reread of Snow Crash, and then I'm gonna read Terry Pratchett, A Life with Footnotes. Someone that shall remain unnamed here because I didn't ask the permission to name them, has gifted me the audiobook, and I'm very thankful, very much. Thank you so much for this. This has helped me deal with a lot of stuff, and I'm really eager to read it. It's going to be the next thing I read once I'm done with Snow Crash. I'm really looking forward to it. On the one hand, but I'm also kind of worried about it, because this is going to be hard to read, to listen to the audiobook. It's going to be really hard. I obviously had to sneak in a quick listen. I listened to the introduction, and yeah, this is going to be really brutal, because Terry Pratchett is probably my favorite author of all time, and yeah, we'll see. It'll happen very soon, and there will be discussions about it afterwards. We just need to figure out how to do them, discussions and stuff. So that's something that I'll read this week, and I will definitely return to Rise of Endymion, which I started, and then I got distracted by all that cyberpunk, which I did read for a reason, and not just because I love to read cyberpunk books. Trust me on this one. So that's roughly my plan to read for reading this week. And there's one other book on the horizon, which is The Darkness That Comes Before by R. Scott Baker, because I kind of snuck my way into a read-along, buddy read, whatever it's going to be, with possibly another discussion afterwards, which includes Joanna and Dr. Philip Chase, and possibly Jimmy Nath of the Fantasy Network. As I said, I'm not in charge here. I just try to mosey into that and actually, we will see. But yeah, people have been telling me I should read Baker for like years now, and yeah, I think it might be interesting. It sounds like books that I will have strong opinions on, so we will see how that goes. Possibly this week, possibly next week. So, Rise of Endymion, Tirpatula Life with Footnotes, and The Darkness That Comes Before are books on the non-existing TBR, which is becoming something of a TBR, I guess, at this point, and I'll just, read whichever one feels best next, which I guess will be Terry Pratchett. So, there we go. That's my reading plans right now, and beyond that, I have no idea. As for videos, well, definitely Endymion, because, yeah, I finished Endymion last week, and if I don't record that video real quick, I will forget important stuff about the book. It's already beginning to fade in my brain, and that would mean I had to reread the book immediately just to refresh my memory of what I want to talk about here and why I think it's, all that stuff. And that would cost me way more time and energy, and I'm not sure if I'm ready to reread Endymion again now. So, yeah, there'll be an Endymion video this week at some point. I can say that with a lot of confidence. So, well, or at least some confidence, I guess. So there we are. That's a plan, because we need to continue that Dan Simmons thing. I'm still figuring out where to go with the whole series, but I feel so far I've made a good inroad into the subject. And yeah, the cyberpunk thing, I'll just say it will become relevant when we talk about more about like artificial intelligence and stuff like that within Endymion, because I do think those are like Dan Simmons and William Gibson's approach are very different, and they can showcase certain aspects of Simmons' thinking that I'm trying to, pinpoint, I guess. So that's a plan. What else am I going to, video about? Well, I'm not quite sure yet. See, I could talk about Snow Crash. I have a vague idea how to do that. I'm just not quite sure if it's a good idea or not. You see, like, I don't want to make just another review of Snow Crash. It's like, go read this book. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Really, trust me. You should go and read this book if you're interested in like the history of science fiction, in the history of cyberpunk, or just want to read something really over the top and funny. You should go and read this. But that's not enough for a video for me, which is something we'll get back to in a moment, right? So that's an option if I manage to talk about Snow Crash and use it as an example for something larger within the science fiction, fantasy genre fiction and what it does. Now, I may have an idea there. I'm still working on it, but I might compare it or link it to something that Grimdark, or especially, say, the works of the First Law stuff by Joe Abercrombie is doing. Maybe I'll be able to do that. Possibly it would also work with Mark Lawrence, but I've only read that first trilogy, and yeah, I don't know, man. So we will see. I think there's something there that is about fatalism and cynicism that you can see in those stories, and that can be explored further. So maybe I'll manage to do that. Otherwise, I'll just, read it again to, as a comfort read or something like that. And another thing that I've been thinking about is possibly making a video on Epic Pooh by Michael Moorcock. I mean, it's a fantastic essay. People should read it more. It's really, really well written. And I do agree with a lot of stuff that Moorcock says. I do think in other regards it may be, well, a bit, falling out of its time at this point. But there's certainly things in there that need to be thought about and discussed, and pointed out, because while he's right in a lot of ways, he's also wrong in some, and that's not him not liking Tolkien. He's totally right there. It's something else that I think maybe not working out the way that Michael Moorcock is thinking about it. So that's an option as well. Once again, one of those things where I just need to, come up with an idea. So there we go. So that's three possible videos for this week. We'll see if I manage to actually get one of them recorded. Which is exactly the point. See, I already said that a lot of you commented and said that my videos are getting better, and I'm very pleased with that. And I do feel that I've kind of changed my approach to making these videos. I've mentioned that like a lot of these videos are like re-recordings or second or third recordings, or sometimes even 4 attempts before I'm at least happy enough with the subject. I'm approaching them. I feel I'm approaching them more, almost in a more academic way, where I just try to have like several drafts, even though those drafts are just recordings and not just, notes and stuff. Although I make some notes sometimes as well. And hopefully that makes those videos more accessible. Another thing that I was wondering about is like, those videos are all about sci-fi books. And I'm like, is this that the connection between those themes, the thematic stuff, the political lens I read books through, right, is easier when I apply it to science fiction, because science fiction is often more political or more overtly political, or has often been connected to politics, or like explicit politics in our perception, right? It's like people will always assume that science fiction is somewhat political because it's all about the future of mankind, whereas people say like, oh, fantasy is this escapism, keep politics out of it. And I'm like, does my approach just work better when I talk about science fiction, like, cyberpunk, or the stuff that Dan Simmons is doing? Because clearly it is raising questions about human society. So I'm kind of wondering what's going on there, but I don't know. So I don't know. Let me know what you think if you have opinions on that. I value the discussion a lot. Oh yeah, that means like I can't just knock out like one video per day if I make that approach, because it would mean recording it like 4 times in one day. That would mean like drinking 4 beers in one day, and that is possible. It will not help with the quality of the 4th video, I can tell you that. And it's also pretty fucking expensive. So I don't know. We will see if that impacts my output in the future, because this is a process and not one that I have any clue how to actually do. So there's certainly that. We will see. As I mentioned in the intro, right, I did actually fulfill my Goodreads reading challenge. Probably fulfilled it a couple of days ago, because I'm pretty sure I forgot to actually update Goodreads a bunch of times, and forgot to actually put in some books, because I'm really bad at this shit. But yeah, I said I'd read 100 books, and apparently that's what I did this year. Which tells you that I'm probably not well, because I spend an awful lot of time listening to audiobooks or reading books instead of doing the things that I'm supposed to do, because reading is in a way my flight from reality, the thing that I do to disengage with the world. And I'm certainly still in a place, I'm still working on this, I'm still in the place where I'm desperately trying to not interact with people, and it's a huge problem, because I owe some people money. I owe some people a lot of explanations and apologies and all kinds of stuff. And I'm trying to gather my mental strength to actually go and apologize to people, to figure out how to get that money that I need to pay, and all of these things. It's so much easier to just sit back and read something as fun as Snow Crash, which is, as I said, my comfort read, because I've read it so many times. And it does do that fatalism so well that it feels like an easy out for me right now. So I don't know, maybe I'll also slow down with the reading and try to actually get my shit together, which I wish I knew how to do that. Honestly, I wish I knew, but we will see. I don't want to turn this into like just me complaining about how I'm still failing at just being a responsible adult in a lot of ways, because yeah, I am. I'm failing terribly at that. Yeah. What else happened? I said, like, I think a lot of these things are sort of connected, and I'll try to actually make that clearer in the videos that I'm planning as a like Endymion this week. Um, I'm really looking forward to if all of that happens and I actually end up in a discussion about the Prince of Nothing trilogy with those people like Philip and Johanna, who I have the highest respect for. Um, Maybe that will help me get out of this like weird mindset that I have with this channel where I'm like, oh, no one wants to talk to me. And I'm like, probably they all want to talk to me or they just don't want to talk to me. And it's easy to imagine things when you're already sort of down with your mental health. And I was like, why am I not asked to go to join group discussions? Probably because I don't talk to anyone. So it's probably me who's to blame. But yeah. So I'm hoping that this will actually work out and it will make me feel really good, and or at least not really shitty. So we'll see where that is going. But it'll obviously be a couple of weeks before that happens, so I don't know. Until then, I'll just do the usual thing, which is try to figure out where to get money, try to figure out how to live my life, and yeah, keeping at it, I guess. Anyway, I didn't want to make this like this super downer kind of thing. I just, it's sort of partly of what I'm dealing with right now, so I figured I'll just mention it. But once again, I mean, the Endymion part will probably not make me this angry, and afterwards with Ilium and Olympus, I'm kind of looking forward to rereading those, even though I'm aware of like a lot of dumb things, but I haven't read them in, I don't know, 15 years, something like that, and forgotten a lot. Oh, and I'll be reading another Terry Pratchett real soon, because we'll have our Carpe Jugulum discussion in the Discworld read-along real soon, and I'm kind of excited for that one, because it's not exactly my favorite one, and thus I haven't read it in a while, so maybe I'll actually discover some cool things in it. Who knows? It's always possible. And even Terry Pratchett can still surprise me. Anyway, let me know what you've been up to. Let me know what you're planning to do this week, what you've read, what you plan to read, what kind of videos you're planning to watch or make or anything like that. And yeah, I'll talk to you about something more serious and sinister real soon. And until then, I don't know. Thanks and cheers.